Rollins was incredible. I've never seen him before, but so motivating. And I know that all of the other speakers who are coming up are just going to be terrific, so I appreciate all of you. And I appreciate all of you for being here. And maybe you're here because you really want to be healthy, and maybe you just want to look for some new information as to how to really improve your health. Or maybe you're here to connect with a community or support a friend. So whatever your reasons are, I'm happy to be here in front of you and really honored to be part of this day. Now, I've been asked to come and speak with you about nutrition, specifically plant-based nutrition. Now that means that I am going to be talking about the benefits and advantages of plant-based nutrition versus animal-based nutrition. And let me first say that we are all different. We're all very unique, and we all make our own choices, and I respect that. You should also know that I'm not here to judge or criticize or shake my finger at you if you eat animals. I used to eat animals too, so I know what that's all about. But now I'm a reformed carnivore. And it is very funny when I think about, the opinions of a reformed carnivore are very much like the opinions of a reformed smoker. Once you've quit, you realize how great it feels. You feel better, things taste better, your sense of smell is keener, you kind of start saving a little money along the way. And because you're so enthused about it and you feel so great, you kind of want to take that feeling and share it with everybody you know. But it can sometimes come across as preachy or offensive to those who still smoke, or in this case, still eat meat. So I'm not here to be that person. I'm not here to offend or present a my way is the best way approach. I'm here rather to offer some insight into plant-based nutrition and maybe offer you some recommendations as to how you can incorporate more plant foods. And you may find that you may start to think about your nutritional choices in a little bit of a different way than how you do now. It was not that long ago that our understanding of nutrition was a relatively simple concept to swallow. But lately, nutrition has become a very confusing and conflicting field to navigate. It's one of the only fields where people can scientifically prove opposing theories and still be right. For instance, there are those who advocate that dairy is necessary for calcium absorption and bone growth, while others say that dairy is harmful, linked to cancer due to the protein casein, and that dairy might actually leach calcium from our bones. And then there are those in the egg industry, proponents who say that egg is the perfect breakfast food, and others who contend that eggs are a source of bad cholesterol. And then, of course, there's meat. Meat is very controversial. Some maintain that meat is a necessary protein source, while others say we should be avoiding it completely, and still others who debate the differences between grass-fed and grain-fed, local, organic, and factory farmed. So with so many theories and so many opinions, it's no wonder there's so much confusion about nutrition. And the food industry doesn't make our job as consumers easy either. Have you ever noticed that cheap, unhealthy foods are more accessible than healthy foods? And why is it easier to buy sugary, processed foods rather than local, organic produce? And have you ever noticed that if you walk into a McDonald's with $5, you can either buy 5 hamburgers or just 1 salad? Price is dictating nutrition, not quality. And what about our supermarkets? Oops, I think we're...
Are we ahead of ourselves?
Yep.
Okay, so that must be the slide.
And can you go back a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where we should be with our supermarkets. There is an abundant amount of choice lining the stores of our grocery stores, lining the shelves. Do you know there's on average 30,000 food items in the grocery store? But so much of what is available to us today in terms of nutrition is really not even food at all. It's not healthy, it's not nourishing, and a lot of it is not even real. Can anyone guess what some of the most common food items purchased might be in the grocery store? What do you think? chips, bread, cereal, soda. You're absolutely right. Those are all of them. So it is a marketplace saturated with low-quality food items. What am I doing? Okay? It's okay. So low-quality food items that are vastly accessible, affordable, and convenient, and that can actually sit on our shelves for months at a time and not go bad. So is that nutrition, or is that false advertising and mixed messages? I think we have a, no? I think so. Okay, sorry. You know, innocently, we rely on food labels now for catchphrases like low fat, sugar-free, whole grain, all natural, and we accept that as healthy advice without really understanding how deceptive these labels can be. And lately, I've noticed the word nutrition is the new catchphrase, finding its way on everything from dog food brands to lawn fertilizer to shampoo. We have triple nutrition for your hair. I think most people don't know what that means. But lately, I've been hearing on TV a lot of ads for Ensure. Does everybody hear the ads for Ensure running? Do you know what their tagline is? Balanced nutrition. So I decided to go and buy some Ensure and take a look and see what that really means. So here we have a pack of Ensure Clear, which they call a nutritional drink to help fill your nutritional gaps. Sounds good, right? And they market it to older people who really don't do the research and who really don't know. But here's what it's about. First of all, this product doesn't expire for another 8 months, and it requires no refrigeration. And what it says about Ensure Clear, it is the fat-free, refreshingly clear choice to help fill your nutritional gaps. So let me first tell you to beware that if a product claims to be fat-free, it usually means it's loaded with sugar. So it's one thing or another. In this case, there are 18 grams of sugar in each bottle of Ensure, which is 4.5 teaspoons of sugar, which looks like this. This is not cocaine, but actually, it is as toxic. Okay, so would you want to eat this or drink this in one serving and consider this nutrition? So as for the claim of being fat-free, they list the total fat on here, and I'm reading from this because I did the research. They list the total fat as less than 65 to 80 grams and saturated fat in each bottle of less than 20 to 25 grams. Does that really sound like fat-free to you? Shouldn't it be 0 if it's fat-free? And according to the US Department of Health, consuming more than 65 grams a day is unhealthy. This drink alone has just that. And most of us get sugar and all kinds of other things during the day. And just so you know, there's not a single ounce of fiber in this at all. So here are the top 4 ingredients that they list in this. Water, so that's good. The next one, corn syrup solids. I don't know if you know, corn syrup is one of the worst things for our body. So it's not corn. It's been processed away from that to corn syrup, but it's not even that. Now it's been even further processed to become a solid. Then the next ingredient is sugar. And then the next ingredient is whey protein isolate, which is dairy, but not even dairy in its natural form. It's an isolate of dairy. So this is their balanced nutrition. Some of the other many ingredients which constitute nutrition in this are citric acid, natural flavor, phosphoric acid, which is commonly used for rust removal and has been linked to lower bone density, absorbic acid, asulfamine potassium, which is a calorie-free sweetener that's 200 times sweeter than sugar itself, and it contains methylene chloride, which is a known carcinogen. So it goes on and on and on, and of course it talks about sucralose, another sugar, D, C, and F, red dye number 40, and blue dye number 1. So whenever I hear anything about dyes, in my mind, it conjures up the image of a skull and crossbones. Do not eat it. In the UK, foods containing food dyes have actually now come with warning labels. We haven't gotten there yet in the US. Anyway, so that's the balanced nutrition. My understanding is that this is probably made in a lab, so I don't particularly want to be a lab rat and take my chances with that. But if you look at something like this and try to read the nutritional value of this, and what are the ingredients in this?
Sunlight, water, nutrients from the ground.
Yeah,
Quality ground for food.
yeah. And it's a tomato and an apple. One ingredient. That's it. We know what it is. We don't have to Google it. Look it up, see what it's all about. But I truly believe that people want to eat and feed their families nutritious food. Yet here we are in America, the wealthiest nation in the world, and we are filled with the sickest and most overweight people. This is the result of such confusion about nutrition. So what is nutrition? According to the Oxford Dictionary, nutrition is defined as the process of providing or obtaining the food necessary for health and growth. So let's focus on the health aspect as we think about nutrition. Now, can we all agree that the single greatest factor which determines the quality of our lives is our health? Yes? So given that premise, what do you think is the one thing over which we have complete control that impacts our health? What is it? What we eat, absolutely. It's food. Food influences everything. The expression, you are what you eat, goes very deep. Food creates our blood, our thinking, and our energy. The better you feed yourself, the better you feel. And we make decisions daily by choosing food that is either healthy for us or harmful to us. Every time you grocery shop, prepare your food, and put your fork to your mouth, you are choosing your health. So what you put in your body, the food that goes in, that becomes your body's life force, your energy, your medicine. And that is why it has the capacity to either harm or heal. In my experience, I found that those who eat poorly are generally not as healthy and a little sadder than those who eat healthy. And those who take care of themselves and eat right are generally happier and more healthy. They're stabilized at their natural weight, they have more energy, they're more motivated to participate in life and the activities that appeal to them, they have more balance and more clarity. And it's not about dieting or fasting, self-discipline or willpower. It's about truly discovering what feeds you, what nourishes you, and what ultimately makes your life extraordinary. So rather than thinking about food in terms of catchphrases and calories, weighing and measuring, I'd like you to shift your focus and really start thinking about your food in terms of its quality, nutritional value, and impact on your health. So ever since I was a little girl, I struggled with some pretty serious digestive issues. Very painful, very unpleasant, and very much a part of my everyday life. Because I would go for days on end without going to the bathroom, I often ended up with severe chest pains. I was told by the doctors in the hospital that I had spastic colon. They waited for it to subside, and they sent me home. No questions, no advice, no answers. So it became a way of life for me for the next 40 years. It was a very private, very embarrassing, a painful cycle of constipation for days on end, followed by a day of everything coming out and often without warning. This vicious cycle of irregularity became my norm, and I came to accept it as a way of life. Eventually, I was diagnosed with having IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, and with that, I had worms, parasites, yeast infections, acid reflux, and in my later years, endometriosis and infertility. One doctor plainly told me I was screwed up. And what amazes me today as I reflect back on all the doctors and all the medications, the laxatives and diagnoses, was that not one of them ever asked me what I ate or thought to make the connection between my food and the dis-ease my body was experiencing. It's really quite sad, actually, that pills and procedures were, and still largely are, recommended as more appropriate cures for illness than food and lifestyle as cause of illness. So here's what I learned. As a child, I was addicted to sugar. Of course, yeast, parasites, worms, they all feed off sugar. And I had my regular 3 or more glasses of milk a day like a good girl. And of course, dairy is constipating. It creates acidity. It can interfere with fertility, and it too is loaded with sugar. And I ate lots of white bread and bologna and fluffernutter sandwiches and Kraft dinner and other such foods I would never touch today. And just as much as probably 99% of us here, every single meal was animal-centered. So it was bacon and eggs for breakfast, turkey, ham, or bologna sandwiches at lunch, and steak and hamburger for dinner. That's the way it was. What I didn't realize was that my food was actually feeding my illness, contributing to my symptoms and exacerbating my pain. It is only when I made the connection myself. I cut out all dairy, and I was no longer constipated or suffering from acid reflux. I stopped eating animals, and my digestion improved, and so did my elimination. I drastically reduced my sugar consumption and no longer suffered from yeast infections or parasites. It was only through making that connection and the necessary changes that I was able to rid myself of these lifelong health challenges. And at 50 years old today, I'm happy to say that I am free of pain, free of symptoms, and free of any and all medication. Oh, thank you. Oh. Thank you. And it's really quality nutrition. Quality nutrition, ridding yourself of the foods that are harming you and adding in those that help and support you. That's what paved my way to vibrant health, and it can do the same for you. Getting nutrition from plant foods is one of the best things you can do for your health. A plant-based approach means eliminating animal products and cholesterol. It also means embracing an abundance of fruits and vegetables, sprouted grains, legumes, nuts, seeds, sea vegetables, beans, dark leafy greens. And in these foods, you'll find that they are low in saturated fatty acids, but they are filled with folate and fiber, live enzymes, antioxidants, phytonutrients, vitamins, minerals, all the things our bodies need to thrive and be healthy. And I realize for some of you, it might be hard to think about your food and your nutrition without including animals, because we're kind of conditioned that way. But more and more people are choosing to reduce or eliminate animals for a variety of reasons. Some are cutting down on animal fats to reduce the risk of chronic disease, obesity, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and depression. Others are trying to live more sustainably by shifting to plant foods, which really require less land and less water to produce. And still others are embracing compassion and rejecting the cruelties of factory farming. But rather than me going on and on and on about the benefits of plant-based nutrition, which I can do, let's go about it by looking at some of the common myths and dispelling some of those misconceptions that exist. So for all of you who volunteered, you should have from number 1 to 5, if you don't mind coming and lining up here. And I'm going to present the slide and the myth, and you can just read what it is. Some of you are sharing, but okay. Who's number 1? There's 2 parts to number 1, number 2. Okay. Thank you so much for volunteering. I know it's hard, but I appreciate it. Okay, so the first one, the first common misconception everybody says is you won't get enough protein, or where are you going to get your protein? So what do we say about that?
30 grams. In just 1 serving of beans with a side of quinoa and spinach, you've pretty much got your protein needs covered. Each and every plant food contains complete and adequate protein. In varying amounts, Popeye being partial to green leafy vegetables like spinach, had the right idea. Foods like spinach, lentils, chickpeas, quinoa, broccoli, asparagus, bamboo shoots, and Brussels sprouts are very high in protein. Consider the most powerful animals on the planet: the bull, the elephant, giraffe, rhino, hippo, etc. They are all herbivores. And today people eat meat to obtain protein from animals who eat what? Plants. We really don't need that middleman, the animal, to get our protein needs met.
Thank you. And I just want to tell you that Sari is our wonderful creator of your Crave Balance bars that are on your table. Thank you, Sari. And further to that, this continues about protein.
As Americans, we are obsessed with protein and making sure we get enough of it. Scientists say a protein is a protein is a protein, no matter what the source. Vegetarians are bombarded with questions about where they get their protein. Protein supplements are sold at health food stores. Athletes once ate thick steaks before a competition because they thought it would improve their performance. This may surprise you, but all this concern about getting enough protein is misplaced, as in our thinking that the only way we can get our protein is by consuming animal meat. The key is to make sure you are getting a variety and high quality protein daily, but we do not need huge quantities of it.
Thank you. And that's so true. And if we take a look at this slide for a minute, all protein sources of plant-based origin contain all of the 9 essential amino acids. They're very easy to digest. They're alkaline forming on your system, and they help promote a healthy body weight. But if your protein source predominantly comes from animal food, more likely than not, you are getting too much protein, which is very tough on our kidneys. You create a state of acidity, plus you're filling your body with cholesterol and saturated fat, which our bodies don't need, and you're missing out on all the fiber and vitamins and minerals that the plant foods offer. Okay, so myth number 2.
It's boring to eat plants. Fact, change can be hard at the beginning, but if you go into it with a sense of the abundance of options, rather than feeling a lack or deprivation, plant-based cooking and eating is anything but boring. Find inspiration in cookbooks and vegetarian sites online. Visit good vegetarian restaurants, talk to friends who lean that way, and maybe try some transitional foods like tempeh and seitan. I appreciate the to emulate the texture initially. A typical day of planning adequate plant-based intake could be a great green smoothie, whole grain pancakes, a tofu scramble, or sprouted bread with almond butter for breakfast. Sautéed greens and brown rice, aromatic grain and nut pilaf, grilled tofu and vegetable kebabs, black bean enchiladas, veggie burgers for lunches and dinners. It's very easy to substitute marinara sauce for meat sauce, to get a pizza loaded with veggies instead of cheese and meat, or to fix a big salad and add garbanzo beans instead of turkey.
Thank you, Allison. So many options. Myth number 3, you'll be starving all the time.
There are plenty of hearty choices in a plant-based approach, such as soups, grains, pastas, and sprouted breads, textured mushrooms, collard wraps with hummus or guacamole, and filled with veggies and beans. Most of us are used to eating until we are full or even stuffed.
Notice the slide? Okay.
We don't realize that our bodies don't need to be in a state of distension to be satisfied. When we fill our stomachs with nourishing foods with a lighter energy, we find we can be just as satisfied and actually have more energy to do things we want. It makes sense that when you eat food that is lighter, you feel lighter. If you eat food with a positive energy, you will have more positive energy.
Thank you.
That's because when we eat, we assimilate not only the nutrients, but also the energy of the food. Vegetables have a lighter energy than animal foods. Animal meat from tortured animals has a very different energy than meat from animals that lived a peaceful existence. Processed foods often require microwavable radiation, lack a life force energy as compared to whole grains, beans, and legumes that can be brought to life by just adding water. As you increase awareness about the foods you consume, be mindful that each food has its own unique energy, beyond vitamins, minerals, fats, and carbohydrates. Food has distinct qualities and energetic properties depending on where and how it grows, as well as how it is prepared. By understanding the energy of food, we can choose meals that will create the energy we are seeking in our lives.
Thank you. Does that make sense? Thank you very much. And just for a minute further to address the myth of or fear of being starving all the time, sometimes in life it's really not food that we're starving for, but fulfillment, right? So do we ever turn to a tub of ice cream to mend a broken heart, or find comfort in a chocolate bar because we're lonely or depressed? So it's very interesting to think about the choices we routinely make when it comes to food. And I have to tell you that plant foods have plenty of nourishing elements to keep our tummies full and our spirits lifted. Okay, so myth number 4, giving up eggs and cheese is torture. There is evidence indicating that animal protein, particularly casein, which I spoke about earlier, is found in dairy, that it may promote some forms of tumor cancer. In fact, Dr. T. Colin Campbell and his team at Cornell University have found that casein is a strong promoter of tumor growth. And other studies have shown that casein actually helps promote the growth of artery blockages in animals. So if any of you have never read the China study, that is an amazing starting point. I recommend that book to everybody. It's medically based, it's scientifically based, and it's nutritionally based. And he's done a 40-year study that's just unbelievable. So and there's an accompanying cookbook too. So please pick that up if you can. Okay, Christina, thank you. So you have to go all the way, or you really shouldn't bother at all.
Fact. Even if you cut out animal products for just 2 days a week, you make a huge difference in your health, the health of the planet, and the lives of so many animals. Forcing a radical change that you won't be able to stick with doesn't make sense. It may be better to ease into a pace and depth that feels comfortable for you. Maybe it's a matter of giving up animals one animal at a time, or perhaps you want to embrace meatless Mondays to start. You could also opt to substitute 1 or 2 animal-based products for plant-based. Instead of cream cheese, try tofutti, which is delicious. Instead of hamburgers, try a veggie or lentil burger. Baby steps might be best. You might want to find someone who wants to try it with you and do it together. Maybe you want to try it for 30 days or try making 1 meal a day all plant-based. Just by beginning to eat plant-based foods, you'll get a taste for it, and there's a good chance that if you do it part-time, you'll start to feel the benefits and want to go further. Small changes can make a big difference.
Thank you. Are we okay? Okay, so let's, just for a moment, let's talk about plants, specifically dark leafy green plants, okay? They are known as the lungs of the planet. In nature, leafy greens actually breathe. They are the respiratory system of the entire plant world. They do the opposite in their world of what our lungs do for us. So where we take in oxygen and release carbon dioxide, dark leafy greens take in carbon dioxide and they release oxygen, and they release it to us once inside of us. They are a great contribution and make a perfect complement to our entire respiratory and circulatory system, which I like to call our internal energy. So does anybody know what this is? What? Chard. Awesome. Does everybody know this is chard? Yeah. That's great. So this is rainbow chard, and just some of this is from my garden, but it's beautiful. So take a look at how vibrant it is, how strong it is, how colorful it is. It's beautiful. And I just want to know, I like to hold it up to the lights and look. I don't know if you can see it, but have you actually ever, can you see, taken a close look at the fine network of veins and arteries that flow through each leaf and stem? You can actually really see the benefits that each leaf and each stalk has to offer. It is a beautiful complexity of chlorophyll and vitamins, folate and nutrients. And when we ingest this dark leafy green plant, we are providing oxygen and nourishment directly, synergistically, to our blood and to our cells and to our veins. And that is what we need to prevent cancer cells from igniting and disease from finding a home. And just look at how closely connected to nature we are. Our blood, water, and plants, incredibly connected. Now, dark leafy greens also have the perfect pairing of magnesium and calcium. Most people think that the only source of calcium that we can find comes from animal milk. But what we actually know is that dark leafy green vegetables actually have more calcium than animal milk. and that calcium is more bioavailable to our bodies in dark leafy greens than it is in animal milk. And bioavailable is the extent to which a body really uses the nutrition. So in this case, animal milk is 30% bioavailable to our body, whereas dark leafy greens are 60% bioavailable. So we are getting way more. And what happens if you take a plant and plant a plant? What happens? It grows, it thrives, it flourishes, and this is the exact same effect your body will experience when you consume plants. But what happens if you plant a breakfast sausage or a bagel or a ho-ho? Nothing. It dies. It rots, right? It does nothing for our bodies. And that's because if we look at bagels, and I love the shape of this, it's a big zero, right? With a little zero, so there's still nothing. They're all denatured. They have chemicals and preservatives, hidden sugars, and most likely trans fats, which throw off and stress out our whole entire network. And they offer no support to our body, no nourishment to our cells, and that is exactly what we need to support us throughout our day. Plant foods have special molecules called phytonutrients, which can actually turn on and turn off our DNA to help prevent disease and help heal acute illness. So eating a diet rich in plant foods over time can greatly enhance your health. And it's amazing that you can actually actively participate in your own health by choosing foods that will support you. And it doesn't really take long at all before your body does start to respond to the positive effects of incorporating more greens. But please be aware that for optimal health and nutrition, what you eat is really just as important as what you don't eat. So foods containing sugars, preservatives, trans fats can turn on a whole cascade of inflammatory responses that eventually do lead to disease. Remember, food can either harm or heal. We can either feed illness or feed wellness. Making sound nutritional choices based on quality and variety is completely within your control. So one place that you can begin is with your meal planning. First, I'd like to suggest that you make a little shift in the way you think about vegetables. Most of us think about vegetables as a side dish. All you have to do is simply shift that thinking and think of vegetables as the main part of your dish. It's not that complicated, because optimally, we should be having 8 to 13 servings of vegetables every day. And I know that sounds overwhelming. I know it sounds like a lot, but one wonderful way to get more fruits and vegetables into our bodies is to begin with a smoothie, right? You can load up your blender just like they do at the back, and hopefully you've tasted the green smoothies. But what happens is you fill your body with all these nutrient-dense foods, it makes you full, and you actually have less room for foods that are nutrient deplete. And our bodies crave what we feed them. So bless you. So creating a plan of healthful foods actually creates a desire for more healthful foods. And another suggestion is that you make sure you are eating a variety of bright, colorful foods. Bright colors and deep greens tell us that these foods are packed with nutrients, antioxidants, and vitamins. The more naturally colorful the life force of your meal, the more likely it is to have an abundance of cancer-fighting nutrients. Pigments that give fruits and vegetables their bright colors, they carry a variety of protective compounds that boost our immune system and give us the energy that we want in our lives. So red food, for instance, has lycopene, which helps to reduce the risk of prostate cancer. Orange foods carry beta-carotene, which helps support our immune system and act as a powerful antioxidant. And of course, green foods have folate, which help build healthy cells and restore genetic material. So a rainbow on your plate every time you eat, adding in more vegetables, really helps to ensure variety and quality nutrition. So at this point, I just want to pause for a moment and ask that you all just take a moment and write down your thoughts about these two questions. Okay, number one, what are you more aware of today regarding your nutritional choices? And number 2, what are three things you can do right now for your own health that will make a difference? Okay, who would like to share something, anything? Yes, Sherry.
I wrote down drink more green smoothies.
Awesome. Okay, and is that something that maybe you're not doing now?
I do when I feel like I have more time for it. Sometimes it's easier to grab one of my bars than it is to whip up a smoothie, so it does take a little time.
Okay, and so something I might recommend is that when you make a green smoothie, make a double batch of it. Put a half of it in a mason jar, keep it in the fridge so that it's ready to go when you're on the go.
For the next day?
For the next day. It can last up from 24 to 48 hours in your fridge in a mason jar with a tightly fitting lid. Okay, thank you. And anyone else like to share? Anything? Yes?
I wrote, I am what I eat, my body will build a better body because of the food choices I make, and to set up a food calendar and bring more movement into my life.
Interesting. So a food calendar, what does that mean to you?
Meaning like, because I was on a cleanse, and I took a whole Sunday, but I made everything. And it was so amazing because no matter how late I was like, there's all this food for me and I can eat all day long, and I was never hungry and I was so happy. It was so stress-free because I planned it.
Right.
And I'm always just so busy, quote unquote, and then I turn to the quick stuff because, so if I take the time.
Absolutely. And people do turn to the quick stuff, and what we normally consider quick stuff is, a bag of chips or some cookies or something. But really, nothing is as quick as this, right? This is fast food right here. It doesn't take much at all. Thank you all for sharing. So, I want to encourage you to please pay attention to what you eat, how it feels in your body. Get to know your healing foods, your supportive foods. You will find that food does offer so much more than calories. It really offers your ticket to a long, healthy, and nutritious life. So as a certified health counselor, I've worked through my own health challenges, but nothing gives me more pleasure than to see the transformation of my clients on their journey. I love my work because I help guide my clients to integrate well-informed and individually directed choices, both in their food and their lifestyle. It really is so important to take the time to take care of yourself. So in appreciation for all of you being here today, for participating in this day and in my presentation, I would like to offer each of you a free health consultation. Just a chance for us to sit down and talk a little bit about you and what some of your health goals might be, and maybe discuss how I can support you in implementing healthy changes to your life so that you can really begin to experience the life you want. I have a sign-up sheet over there, so please put your name down. Nothing is more important, more precious than our health. And I hope that after today, you can all really begin to pave the most vibrant path to your nutritious health, because your wellness does count every day in every way. And thank you for your time.